G'day, Dave here, and we're looking at Matthew chapter 6 and verses 1 to 4. As we look at this, I want to show you the pattern that there is, because Jesus is challenging a kind of hypocritical, self-righteous, moralizing religion. And the way of the kingdom is very different to that. So if you're not a Christian and you're checking this out, you'll be really pleased to see that being a Christian is not about being a hypocrite. And if you are a Christian, maybe there are challenges here for how we go about living out our faith and the impact that it has on those around about us. What we see is a pattern, and I want to look at what this pattern is. And we'll look at the first example of it, which has to do with giving to the needy. In another talk, we'll look at prayer, and then we'll look at fasting. But he says here, be careful, verse 1, not to practice your righteousness in front of others to be seen by them. A picture here a stage where there are many people gathered to watch the performance. And the actors come onto the stage to do their performance. What Jesus is saying is this isn't the way to practice righteousness. This isn't how you live out being Christian. This isn't the way for those who are following Jesus in the kingdom of heaven. They're not to be putting on a performance. And this performance language gets picked up in a number of places with the use of the word hypocrite. So if you come down to verse 2, when you give to the needy, do not announce it with trumpets as the hypocrites do in the synagogues. The word hypocrite here literally means an actor or an impersonator, one who puts on a mask. And in the ancient Greek world, the drama of plays was worked out with people wearing different masks for different characters. And Jesus is saying, no, you've got to take the masks off. We're not to be play acting here. This is not a performance in front of other people. Rather, we should do our acts of righteousness to an audience of one, only one. And you can read that in what follows. Down in verse 4, then your Father who sees what is done in secret will reward you. In other words, if you're going to be living out godly behavior, if you're going to be doing acts of righteousness, if you're going to be giving to the needy, praying, if you're going to be fasting, don't do it for the sake of others seeing you to be somebody. It's not performance righteousness. No, live out your expression of the Christian life being righteous before God alone. And very important when we see here that doing things in secret, being seen by God alone, actually helps to safeguard the sincerity of what we're doing. We love to be loved. We love to be noticed. We love to be respected. We love to be appreciated. We love to be thanked. And the great danger is that instead of living as a Christian in order to please God, we delight in getting the respect and the applause of those around about us. We love it when people appreciate what we do. And yet this can twist acts of righteousness. So instead of living and acting and speaking so as to please God, we do it for the rewards that we get from people. Well, that's the pattern, and it's that pattern that we see with each of the examples, giving to the needy and prayer and fasting. Well, let's have a look then at the particular here of giving to the needy. I'll recap. Be careful not to practice your righteousness in front of others to be seen by them. If you do, you will have no reward from your Father in heaven. So when you give to the needy, do not announce it with trumpets as the hypocrites do in the synagogues and on the streets to be honoured by others. Truly I tell you that they have received their reward in full. But when you give to the needy, do not let your left hand know what your right hand is doing, so that your giving may be in secret. And then your Father who sees what is done in secret will reward you. You see, if we give for the sake of other people seeing how generous we are, how much we're prepared to give to those who are in need, if we want people to look up to us as being generous philanthropists, if we want people to think, hey, that person is willing to give away what they've got, then that will be our reward that they notice. But acts of righteousness in the kingdom of heaven are to be done for God alone. And therefore, we're encouraged to do this in secret. You get this image here of your right hand not knowing what your left hand is doing. And I don't think this means you give with one hand behind your back, keeping for yourself or crossing your fingers. No, we understand this, I think. It's very easy to give and want others to know what we've given. You see it when it comes to GoFundMe type things, where you have the opportunity to record your name or to give anonymously. And I take it that the more generous we feel that we're being, the more likely we are to want others to know. Well, there's a great benefit in keeping it anonymous. Telethons and TV fundraising that are constantly announcing how much is being given by this individual or this business. They actually cause us to fall into the temptation of wanting to give so as to appear on the screen, so that people will see how good we are with our giving. Well, when we do that, we get our reward. That is, people see what we do, and that is our reward in full. In other words, God's not paying attention to that. Now, if you want God to see what you're doing, then do it sincerely. Do it in secret. Don't look for the accolades from the people around about you. You see, we are not called to give so as to impress others, not even to impress ourselves. We're called to give to those who are in need, and to do anything other than that is hypocrisy. Let's ask God to help us to be genuine, to be real, and not to be hypocrites who put on a show for the sake of others.